Hello and welcome to the Brand Therapist Podcast. I'm so excited to be here with you today. Yes, it's just me, and I'm really excited to talk about persona creation. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but before we go there, I want you to sit back on your favorite chair, relax, and take all the information in. If you're driving, you can just relax and listen to the information. And if you want to take notes, you can do that too. So it's all up to you. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about persona creation. What is persona creation anyway? You know, it's funny when I write persona creation, it always wants to autocorrect to personal. So persona creation is your avatar, is your ideal client, is your what I call your super fan. And it's really important to understand them deeply. So I'm going to give you some pointers on how to do this. Now, we have made it a little complicated for ourselves to really understand who our super fan, avatar, ideal client is. But it's not that hard, okay? Now, a lot of people say that you have to, it's you when you were starting your business. And I'm here to tell you it's not you, okay? It's your opposite. But how do you know who your opposite is? Well, I have a methodology that I've used for years, almost 2 decades, and it's proven, it works, it's easy, and it's fascinating to me how many times it actually defines the persona. I also teach an MBA class at the University of Louisville, and I teach design thinking, and I make them create a persona before they go into the ideation space, because it really helps them frame the problem and understand their needs and what I call their insightful needs. So let's talk a little bit about how this starts. Now, what I like to do is if you go to bespokebranding.io, there's a brand quiz. If you take the brand quiz, if you click on brand quiz, 2 questions, and you find out your archetype, your famed character is what I call it. Once you know your archetype, the opposite is your ideal client and what I call your super fan. Okay. So for example, if I click and it shows up that I am a magician, the opposite of magician is ruler. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about that. So the magician, right? I like to say that the magician makes magic literally and figuratively. I get a lot of magicians taking the test, which is interesting. I think a lot of entrepreneurs, the quote for the magician is if there's a will, there's a way. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs make things happen. They make their business happen in one way or another, right? So I get a lot of magicians. I haven't taken the percentage, but I will, because I think it's interesting to see how many magicians. The other one that I get a lot of is caregiver. And so I like to see the opposite of caregiver is hero. And we'll talk a little bit about what that means. So what does the opposite mean? Let's go into that a little deeper. So what happens is that if we're a certain archetype, and I'm not trying to put people in a box here, okay? What happens is just something that's what I call your brand essence. When we become brands as individuals, which is personal branding, we have to show our character front and forward. Why do we want to do that? Well, we want to do that because we want to attract the right individuals to our brand. I'm sure you've had this happen to you where you had a client that you kind of weren't getting along with. Things weren't going well. They were complaining a lot about the work you did for them, although you put 100% of your effort on it. That means that they're not the right client for you. And at some point in your business, you had to fire them. Tell them, thank you so much for your business. Goodbye. And that happens to a lot of us when we start our own business. But the reason why we attract these individuals is because we're not clear on our personal brand. The clearer we can get and understand our personal brand, the easier it is for us to attract that individual, what I call the super fan. Okay. The other thing that I want to be very, very, very clear on is that you have your super fan, which is at the center, right? That's who you want to message to. That's who you want to create your products around. That's who you want to target. That does not mean you're not going to get other people around that sphere. And that's how this works. We go for the center because that gives us focus, and then we attract other individuals, which is completely fine. But we have to go for superfan because that helps us create a brand that we love, and that is it's on the growth trajectory. Okay. And then we'll talk a little bit about tension and all that. The other thing I wanted to mention is that opposite is your purpose, right? Because we have this ingrained essence, this foundation that is innate to who we are. We were born with it. And what happens is that to get to purpose ourselves, we have to understand that opposite. And a lot of times we fight with that opposite. We don't want anything to do with that opposite, but it's not about becoming your client or becoming that opposite. It's really about understanding them and understanding their needs and understanding what they're about. They are different than you, so they're not going to like things the way you like them. And that tension helps us build interest. So for example, we have the magician and the ruler. The magician is all about magic, making things happen. They're okay with ambiguity. They're okay with being more dynamic and feeling things out, or letting, their head figure out their path. On the other side of that, we have the stable people, which is the ruler. They're more, like I said, stable. So they like structure. They like control. They like things that make sense from either a scientific standpoint or a fact standpoint or a data standpoint, right? So these two polar opposites build tension. They have a tension. And the more you can talk about that tension, relate to that tension, the better your products will be, the better you will have, that understanding and that empathy towards your client, and the faster your business will grow. Okay. So now that you know your super fan, right? You may want to really understand a little bit more in depth, and you can go to bespokebranding.io and click on courses. And I have these particular reports that are in depth for each of the fame characters. So you can buy yours or you can purchase your superfan. But I recommend you do both because it's going to be really critical to be able to build that tension and understand them at a deep level. Okay, Now you have this report, or you have more understanding of who they are. You can also Google it online if you don't want to purchase it. It's fine. Google ruler online and find out their characteristics, what they're all about. And then what you want to do is create a persona. Now, it's so interesting because a lot of my students are like, am I making this up? Who is this person? And you are hypothesizing, okay? You are putting yourself in their shoes as an empathetic user, understanding their characteristics and building this persona around that. The other thing that you could do is you probably already have a client that has these characteristics. So as you build the persona, you can think about that client and then use that to build your persona profile. Okay. The other thing that's really important about the persona profile, I'm going to go through the questions with you in just a second, is that it has to be visual. It can't just be, answering the questions and putting this persona together. You have to have a picture of who this person is, of their home, their favorite place in their house, of the places they'd like to go shopping, of the, books that they love or the programs that they reach out, what kind of clothing they wear. You have to have a full picture of who this person is. Okay, so with that, let me go into the questions that you will want to ask your persona or your super fan, okay? Or understand about your super fan, not ask, but this is something you're asking yourself. You're going through this and you're answering them in the best way that you can. I also like to say that this is a living document. And a living document means you can come back and modify it. The more you learn, the more you understand, and you can keep this and keep modifying, keep adding, keep changing it, because it's going to help you with not just your messaging, but also your offers and the way that you think about, okay, I want to offer this. How do I talk about this so they are attracted to it? What other offers can I do based on their needs and their insightful needs, right? How does this person feel? Because so the way this works is that you're attracted to them and they're attracted to you. So it's a reciprocal. So the more that you exude your characteristics, the more they're attracted to that. Now, they don't quite understand that dynamic quadrant if we're talking about the magician. They don't quite understand them, right? They're a little like, sometimes they look like aloof. They have this incredible, they're visionary, and they might not understand their characteristics, but they're attracted to that. Sometimes they even wish that they had more of those characteristics within themselves, but they know that they don't. So they're attracted. So you have to bring them over slowly. And that's why you want to offer different things. You want to offer something that's more structured, right? That they can relate to. And then as you move them into your tribe or your ecosystem, then you can offer them things that are more are more magical, if we're talking about the magician. Okay, so let me tell you how this works. And this is something I used in my corporate life. I was the expert at persona profiles, and the company actually looked at me to help them understand how to create these. And this is what drove the project, what drove the team. The entire team understood the persona profiles. This is something else that's important, is that you share this with your team and your team understands how this works. Because the more you share it with your team, they're going to be telling you, that alpha doesn't sound quite right for this persona. And you're going to be taken back and say, yeah, you're right. So the whole team is going towards the same focus. Because what happens is that one team member is over here, the other team member is over here. They have different personas in their head. And so the the job doesn't get done cohesively. And so it's important to put a picture in their head of what this persona is, or who this persona is or looks like. Okay, so the questions are super simple. There's nothing, but you have to really think through this, and sometimes you have to do some research, go online, Google some things to find out how you get these answers. Now, don't worry. I'm telling you this because I know I get this a lot. Don't worry about having the right answer. Okay, a lot of people are like, am I doing this right? Do I have this right? No, go with your gut. Go with your gut feeling. And remember, this is a live document. You can change it if it doesn't fit right, but just go through it and see, what comes first to mind when I ask this question? How do you start creating this profile that's not just going to help you in your business, but it's going to help your entire team? Okay, so the questions are the name. You name them. Give them a name. Sarah, Joseph, Mike. How old is she or he? So are they 22 or are they 54? Don't say, they're 54 to 65. No, this is one person. This is not an agglomeration of people. Remember, the more targeted you go, the more people you'll get around your ecosystem, and the more people that are attracted to your genius are going to be attracted to what you do. What is their gender? What is their relationship status? Are they married? Are they divorced? Are they engaged? Are they single? What is their family like? Do they have children? Do they not? Do they live alone? Do they live with their girlfriend? So what is their family like? What do they like to wear? Like, do they wear casual clothes? Do they like to kind of get dressed and look really good? Like, what is their purpose? And on this one, you can look at how they look at a picture of people dressed and take a picture of that and put it in your profile. What do they do for a living? Are they an accountant, or are they a nurse at the hospital, or are they an entrepreneur themselves working in technology? Like, get as specific as possible and really frame that person. How much money do they make? Do they make 100K? Do they make 200K? Do they make 50K? Like, be very specific about how much money they make, because this is going to be important as you go and do paid ads. Okay. Who do they follow online? Maybe they're, 65 and they don't follow anybody online, but maybe they're younger and they do follow people online. So if they do they go on Facebook? Are they more of an Instagram? Are they more Twitter? Are they more LinkedIn? Or do they like all platforms? Or do they really like TikTok? So really understanding where your ideal client kind of lives. And maybe you say, well, they have all of them. Okay, but what is the top one? What is the one they love? What is the one that they don't miss a day on? What shows and channels, videos do they watch? Are they on Netflix? Do they like HBO? Do they like Hulu? Do they like all of them? Do they have a preference between one and the other? So we need to understand what channels they are, or YouTube, or do they like podcasts? What are their favorite books? Do they have a favorite book? Right? Are they reading a particular book? Do they like more business books? Or they like autobiographies? Like, what kind of books do they like? And list them and take a picture of a book that they're reading, so people have a frame of mind of who that is. Where do they like to hang out online? This is really important, because as you think about doing paid ads, you kind of want to do it right. So if they don't hang out on Facebook, why would you be doing Facebook ads? That doesn't make any sense. So understand where they hang out online. Or if they're, 70 and they have no idea on technology, they might not even be online. So it might be a waste of time. Or they might go online with their, child or grandson, right? So think about all those possibilities as you get more clear on your target. What are some things they do on a daily basis? Now we get to know them a little bit deeper around their habits. Okay, do they get up, have their coffee, then maybe they like to read some news, then they get dressed and they go to work? Do they work inside their home? What are the rituals? What are the things that they do daily? And what does that look like? What do their weekends look like? Are their weekends different than their weekdays? And what does that look like? Do they like to go on a hike on the weekends? Do they like to go to the spa on the weekends? Do they like to spend time with family on the weekends? Do they like to be with their girlfriends on the weekends? So a lot of times their weekend habits are different than their daily habits or their weekday habits. So now we get into a little bit deeper, and this will really help us with their pain points. And we have to understand their pain points so we can attract them in the right way. What are they having difficulty with? What do they need support with? That is the pain points. So what's their biggest frustration is a pain point, right? Find out what their biggest frustration is. What are they afraid of? Failure? What are things that and if they're afraid of failure, what kind of failure? Like failure on their business or their family, or that they're not making enough money? Like, it's important to understand what the failure is. The more you can ask why, the better understanding of this client you're going to have. What pisses them off? What makes them mad, angry, right? What just totally gets them on fire. So understanding that. And now we go on to more of their aspirations. What are their aspirations and ambitions? What do they want to reach? What is their vision of themselves? What do they want to do in this life? Then we go into, again, what are they proud of? Are they proud of their children or what they've accomplished? What are they really proud of? And then what do they like to do to relax and get away? Do they like to maybe go on a hike, or maybe they like to go to a vacation on the beach, or they like a vacation in the mountains? Everybody has their own ideal type of vacation. What is theirs? Or just something to get away and relax and get away from everything. What is it that they do? And then if they go shopping, where are their outlets of shopping? Do they like to shop at Banana Republic? Do they like to shop at Whole Foods for food? Do they like to do online shopping? Are they doing more of Amazon shopping? I've been hearing this a lot where people are like shopping at Amazon. I can't believe it. But I guess that's what you do now. So think about specifically what that means for you. So now you can understand, the more questions we ask about their daily life, their frustrations, their ambitions, the more we have this picture around our persona. And that can help us so much to have not only empathy with our clients, but also understanding them. And I would recommend you get a CRM system that you can write these sort of notes about your clients, when their birthday is, what, their child's name is, because then you create a customer experience where the client is never going to leave you, because they love what you do and they know that you think about them and they know that you care about them. And the other piece of that is that you're also going to create referrals and reviews with these clients. And that's what you want to grow your business. So yes, superfan specifics is very important for any business. And it's important to focus on them. But really understanding who they are, you can use a different process. You can try to figure out something else that it's important to you. But this is over years and years of studies. This is what's really worked for me and my clients. And I think it really helps you frame and take and make decisions in the right way and have the team really going for it. And a lot of businesses don't do this, and they don't stay afloat because they don't really offer their ideal clients what they need. But it's really understanding, not just the superficial stuff, but the deep feeling stuff. So thank you. I hope you enjoyed this episode around Superfan, and we'll continue our conversations. And the last day of the month is going to be where I teach something or talk about something, and I have something coming up, which is my book, which I'm so excited about. And we're going to start going into each of the chapters so you can get a better understanding on how to help your business grow and make your brand unique, because it's all about your personal brand or your business brand. Thank you, and see you next time.